Hello, everybody, and welcome to First Ring Daily, where I just saw Paul's login name, which is Frightful Fridays for the chat service that we use. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you. You too.
For those who weren't watching the pre-show, Paul is still laughing about a tweet he made involving IPAs, and he is just very smitten about himself today, aren't you, Paul?
As I once told my son, no one loves you more than you do. You know?
Wow. Okay. We'll take that little nugget of happiness or something, and we'll just move on from there because I don't know how to respond to that. Okay. Paul, do you remember yesterday talking about green sparkles on my monitor?
I do. And I also remember how they went away. So everything's good again, right?
Yeah. Quick recap for everybody who doesn't know. So after installing the Creators Update, my third monitor has these green little sparkles floating around everywhere. And this morning when I turned my computer on, much to my surprise, they were gone. And I told Paul very happily on Skype, said, hey, look, they're gone. And now they're back. And I don't know why.
I'm sorry.
Which is strange because I haven't rebooted or anything. And they just, they're like, yeah, we'll just come back. Maybe this is some sort of...
Did you ever do any of that testing stuff? Did you ever try just the single monitor? No. Okay.
No. That's
I'm sure it's not related to the Creators Update.
Yeah. Raph is asking for a picture. He would like a screenshot of green sparkles that aren't going to show up.
Right. I think he means like a photograph, like a photograph.
Oh, I guess I could take a photograph, but yeah, that would probably be logical. I can, actually, but that's not going to happen right now because we're podcasting, Paul. And even though it is Friday, we do take things very seriously around here. Actually, something, Paul, I missed that you even wrote this up. What did Microsoft say about their ARM-based stuff?
Not too much, but I somehow generated 1,300 words from a single sentence, which was that they are on track to deliver the first ARM-based Windows 10 devices by the end of the year.
That's it?
Yep.
1,300 words from that.
Well, to be fair to me, yes. No. Also, Qualcomm, not this week, but last week, actually, I think tied to IFA, provided some color around their communications technologies that they build into chipset. So actually, it's funny because they say, you remember Microsoft kind of invented this term called the always connected PC. According to Qualcomm, PC makers have been shipping something called always connected PCs for several years. And those PCs actually use Qualcomm modem chipsets, for cellular modems. And they listed a variety of PC makers who have used them, including, wait for it, Microsoft, because, of course, the Surface 3 came with built-in LTE, and that must have been a Qualcomm part.
Yeah.
In the Snapdragon 835, which is the chipset at the heart of the Windows 10 devices running on ARM, they include the latest version of that chipset. I don't remember the name of it, but it's basically like a gigabit networking capable cellular broadband chip. So it could actually be faster than the Wi-Fi connections in most people's homes, or the whatever connection in most people's homes. It was faster than most connections. So I think they're trying to use this as a selling point because the big question around the Qualcomm stuff, around the Windows 10 and ARM stuff, is whether the performance will be the same as we expect in the Windows world on, say, an Intel or AMD-based system. And then, of course, the battery life and the connectivity stuff. So anyway, between the two of them, I thought there was kind of a little bit of a reminder this stuff is coming. They're still saying it's coming this year. Remember, it's been almost a year since they announced it.
Yeah, and so the question becomes when? Like, are they going to have an event and announce all this stuff coming? We don't really know, do we?
No. There's, I guess, an outlier chance that Surface announcement that we're expecting in October, they could talk it up. I mean, I would expect, I guess it could go either way on this one, but I sort of expect Microsoft to come out with a ARM-based Surface device. In fact, I suspect had they had one, they might not have put Windows 10 OS on ARM. I could have kind of imagined that system being more of a low-end device than Surface laptop. But I would think the very end of the year, and I don't expect, we really haven't heard anything about this, right? In fact,
Right.
one of the things I did dig out of that information from those two sources is that there's a list of PC makers that have said they're going to ship Windows 10 on ARM devices, and it's very short. It's HP and 2 or 3 others that I don't remember. There's actually another list of PC makers that are going to ship always connected PCs based on Intel chipsets, and that list is actually really long. In fact, it's about 3 times as long as the ARM one. So I suspect that we will see just a handful of things this year and very late in the year.
Yeah.
And it will be just to kind of meet the date. And then I think the big push for this stuff happens at CES, and then in the spring.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. And then I was going to say, then we could kind of see what they're going to have for the year. My biggest problem with CES, though, and you know this very well, is that we'll see things in January and they will ship sometime, maybe never. So. Yep. Paul, so let me actually take a step back here. Paul, are you getting on a plane next week, particularly Tuesday?
No. So I have a meeting in New York on Tuesday, and my original plan was to go to New York, with my wife on Monday, stay overnight in that hotel I asked you about. And she was going to meet some friends, and I'd do my thing, and then I'd hang out at Rattle and Hum, and then we could go home. Actually, I'd hang out at Rattle and Hum the night before, and that would be smart because then I could drive home sober. So as it turns out, for some reason, the hotel rates next week are really high. Maybe because I waited so long. Probably because, and I don't really focus on this too much, but I moved recently and I've been very distracted. So I never thought to book this. And I just was looking through my calendar, or somehow this thing came up. I had forgotten about it completely. And now I don't know how I'm going to do this. So I assume by Tuesday we'll be like in the eye of the hurricane. Is that what you're alluding to?
No, there's an Apple event on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that's even worse. So
I'd like to take a pause for a minute here, everybody. This is what I work with on a daily basis. Major tech event on Tuesday, and Paul has absolutely no idea.
No, I do have an idea. It's just that when this thing was booked, no one knew the Apple event was that day. And even if I did know, what am I going to do? It's I have to go to this. So, what time is the Apple event at? Do you know?
It's probably the same time as always. I bet 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
So actually, I'll be around for that. The thing I'm doing is in the morning. So the problem for me though is that if I'm going to have to drive or take a bus or a train or something to get to New York, that means I'm going to have to leave here at like 5 o'clock in the morning because I have to be there for 9. Because remember, it was coming the night before. This seemed like a great idea at the time. My wife's not coming anymore, so we're not doing this. Plus, it's expensive. And now I think I'm going to have to get up wicked early, go to the stupid meeting, and then I'll probably go to Rattle and Hum, and I'll have to cover the Apple event from a seat that will have a tater tot bowl next to it.
The added benefit of covering it from Rattle and Hum for several hours, those are by far the most comfortable seats on the planet.
Yes. Plus, I won't be able to drink as much as I usually do when I go there because I think I'm going to be driving. And this is the whole thing is going to be so screwed up. Like I have gone to Rattle and Hum and not had tater tots. This I can handle. I'm going to have to go to Rattle and Hum and stop drinking at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. And I got to tell you, I'm not okay with that.
I just think it's more impressive that this is, I think, the 3rd consecutive Apple event that you have been not stationary.
Hey, I live tweeted Microsoft's some Xbox event over the summer from my car. Remember? We were driving back from Pennsylvania on a Sunday whenever it was like the Xbox One reveal.
You have a long and rich history of missing these events, or being reachable, or on a solid internet connection, one might say.
It's great. It's great being me. Yeah.
But anyways, you got any kind of left field expectations for next week? I know we're going to get probably an iPhone watch with LTE, a 4K Apple TV, iPhone 7s, and then potentially like an iPhone Pro, iPhone 8, or something that resembles a $1,000 iPhone at the top end.
No, I think that's everything. I can't imagine why they would do more than that. I enjoy, by the way, the fact that you just referred to the Apple Watch as an iPhone watch. This is a tough one for me because this is the first year that my iPhone experience has been terrible. And the iPhone 7 Plus that I bought last year is not a good camera, and I've got a real problem with this. So I'm almost certainly going to have to get one of these iPhone things. But I got to say, if the high-end iPhone is in short supply and I have to wait to get that, I think I'm going to be okay with that. Like, I don't think there's any huge impetus or whatever for me to need this thing like immediately. So if it works out that I can't get one right away and I have to wait a couple of months, I really don't care. I in some ways am more interested in the Apple TV in particular. Like you and I have been talking about, a 4K Apple TV is of a lot of interest to me. We've been using the Apple TV as our kind of TV interface out in the other room, and it's great. But what I really want to do is get some 4K stuff going on there. So that will be nice. And then I'm actually slightly more interested in what happens on the Android side, to be honest. I mean, depending on how good the Pixel is, I might just make that switch at that point, you know?
Yeah, it's everybody's going to get the software. I think they'll more than likely announce, what is it, iOS 11 or whatever the heck we're on now, will become available that day or not long after. And it's really, you're paying purely for the hardware at this point, which is the same as every year. And so it's, we'll see.
I do want a bigger screen, you know?
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Like, if you look at it like my iPhone 7, if you look at like the front of this thing, like you look at all the white, you know, if that was screen, like the same size device, but all screen, that would be interesting to me. I think the Pixel will be something like that. If it isn't, I mean, the Note 8 has an awesome camera. I could picture going in that direction, assuming there are no explosions between now and then. Yeah, we'll see.
A reasonable concern.
Yep.
So interesting. I know I'm kind of in the same boat. It sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like they're getting rid of the home button. I'm going to be, if they truly dump Touch ID for facial recognition, my personal opinion is that's a step backwards.
Yep. That has never worked well on any phone. And I don't care what anyone says about that kind of thing, because I've tried it so many times, and it just, you know, there'll be like software updates. It's like, oh, it's a little faster this time. No, it isn't. It's really slow. And the thing that doesn't bother me is whether the Touch ID, like a fingerprint reader, is on the front or the back. I think those can work well in both situations. I think it's fine. Agreed. Samsung obviously screwed it up this year with their Galaxy S8 and now with the Note 8 as well, just by putting it next to the camera. But whatever. I mean, it you know, when you hold a phone and your fingers back there, it's fine. Like the usage is there. Not having that button at all, because it sounds like what Apple wanted to do was build it into the screen, and somehow, you know, they weren't able to get it to happen. Yeah. So not having it, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah. My bigger thing is too, is that means your face has to be in front of the phone. And when I log in or whatever, access my phone in the morning, it's on the nightstand. And like, I reach over and just touch it because I don't want to get blinded by the light. And yeah,
that's right. Yeah. What you need to do is configure it with your eyes closed. So when you turn it on in the middle of the night, you can just be like, you know, making that face.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. So that's Tuesday, folks, and we'll definitely be covering that. Paul will be covering it from a bar with tater tots and alcohol, and I will be sitting in a proper, well, about 6 feet that way, over in front of my main PC, hopefully with no other flickering green screens. But it is Friday, and one of the things we do on Friday is go back and take a look at some of the other comments. And one of the things, Paul, actually, I think I posted this last Friday, where I wrote about Microsoft's future with the consumers in jeopardy. But somebody else pointed out another technology Microsoft had before just about everybody else, and they've completely lost it, was sync for the cars.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. GT, Telecrete, something like that. It says another early leader they had was sync. And for those not familiar, Microsoft had to deal with Ford, and they were building the infotainment system, which has now, Ford has now left that for a BlackBerry. I believe it's QNX. And then there's obviously also CarPlay and Android Auto, but there is no Microsoft solution. And both of those other platforms are growing extremely quick in popularity. So
it's funny because Microsoft actually is often derided as being slow moving, right? Mm-hmm. There's probably a better way to say what people are trying to say, which is that it just makes bad decisions, and meaning that sometimes they're too soon with things like tablets, you know, and sometimes they're too late with things, you know. And a bigger problem, I guess, though, is that they often don't give things the effort they require, you know.
Yep.
If you like, for example, there was some news about movies and TV today. We were talking about people in the comments, people on Twitter, some people via email, and making a bet on Microsoft to get like an entertainment service like that right is a bad bet, because that thing will never be central to what they do. It will never matter enough for that thing to be a high priority. You know, if you care about digital content of whatever kind, whether it's movies and TV shows or music or whatever, it probably makes a lot more sense to go to a company where that type of thing is a central focus, you know. And for the big companies, honestly, Apple is probably a much better bet. They have a longer history of doing it and doing it right. Or smaller companies, you know, like Spotify for music or whatever. So yeah, Microsoft's tough. They are. We always also talk about, you know, these billion-dollar businesses. Movies and TV or just digital media is never going to be a billion-dollar business for Microsoft. It's just never going to get the resources it needs, and they're always going to go running off after that next billion-dollar business when these things don't work out. So I don't know. I think, you know, we've talked about Cortana. You know, Cortana, which I think we sort of perceive as basically a consumer technology, really has deeper roots in AI and machine learning and all that kind of stuff. And that seems like it's central to Microsoft's future. It seems like they would have tried a lot harder to make this thing a success. And yet they're just kind of sitting there. It's kind of hard to explain this company sometimes.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I agree and go and not on. And because that's all I got. I mean, you hit it right on the head. Actually, what was running through my mind is that they need an executor, which then I realized that typically means to kill somebody, but they need somebody who can come in and just drive a project to that next level rather than just get it out the door.
Yep. Yeah. They need to culturally, Microsoft needs to make it valuable to people to complete the job. You know, this is something I said to Brad Anderson last winter when I was in last October or whatever it was in Vegas. And I've said about Microsoft a lot, you know, it's shipping something is great, but you have to kind of keep it going, you know, and you have to make sure that when the complaints come in, you fix the problems and you maintain it. But at Microsoft culturally, what people want to work on is the next big thing. It's probably true of many tech companies. And they tend to let things sit, you know. It's I don't know. It's always been a problem.
I agree. Next comment comes from TR Parkey, and it was actually on your post, Paul, talking about how Google Drive is getting placeholders. And this is actually interesting because a couple of people chimed in and said they agreed. It says Google Drive wasn't all that reliable at data syncing for this person. That's one of the reasons why they went over to OneDrive and an Office 365 subscription. It's actually been far more reliable than what Google has been offering.
So I've installed the Google Drive Sync client, but I don't use Google Drive for anything. So even though I'm paying for a G Sync account or whatever, and G Suite account, and probably have some amount of storage that's associated with that, I just never use it. So I've looked at the Google Drive client and obviously other sync clients, and I've used Dropbox a lot. I've used OneDrive a lot. I sort of assume they all work, similarly, but it kind of doesn't matter. This thing that they're coming out with, and also this kind of a consumer-oriented, I forget what it's called, but it's like photos and documents backup or something that is a different client as well. It's all the same stuff, right? I mean, so whether or not this new thing is more reliable or whatever, or better performance, I have no idea. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but I don't know. I might be dropping on a related note. I think I'm going to be getting rid of. I've been paying for Dropbox for a couple of years now. I think I'm going to stop doing that.
Really?
I've basically just moved back to OneDrive. Yeah.
Well, if that isn't a sign of approval from Mr. Paul Thurrott, that OneDrive no longer sucks. Yep. Paul, I don't know about you, but this was a 4-day week and it felt like 45.
It still does. I have a meeting at 4 o'clock, which, by the way, you're welcome. Right?
Whoa. Hold on. For people who are not familiar, Paul has a meeting at 4 o'clock, and he tried to drag me into it, but
I saved you from this. Maybe you weren't paying attention. I got you out of this.
Well, you said, does it make sense for Brad to come to this? And I started coughing and hacking into the microphone.
I was joking, but then Tina thought that was a fine idea, and then I said I was kidding.
Nope. Nope. You got anything else for today, Paul?
Just that meeting, Brad, that you won't be at. So, yeah, that's pretty much what's on my outlook for the day, as we say. How about you?
And if this back here is on the outlook, if this picture makes you queasy because this is about to ram into your household, best of luck this weekend. You can listen to First Ring Daily while you have no power and using only the battery backups.
So, is that Puerto Rico over there on the left? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah. So this is from about 2 days ago. I think it went a little north.
Yep.
That way.
So if you were to follow that line in your that would be made by your finger there, Florida is coming up next, and that's where my brother and sister both live, and also Richard Hay. So, good luck and whatnot.
Yep. And if you enjoy 1-2 punch combos, you can't see it, but Jose is somewhere back about right here, and he's trying to I don't know. He's what my friends used to do at the bar. They would walk around right after all the relationships end, and he would try to go for the quick pickup. That is what Jose is trying to do.
Jeez. All right.
Yep. We're just keeping it real, Paul. With that, everybody, reminder, we do this podcast every single day, Monday through Friday. And, well, we'll be back Monday through Friday next week because there's no holidays, and I got to deal with Paul and his shenanigans. And as always, everybody, have yourself a safe weekend if you're dealing with this. And if not, we will catch you right back here Monday. Thanks for tuning in.